Okay, so find side C. So this is what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself, what do I see? Do I find any pairs? SAS, triple S? Those are kind of the big questions. So I have a pair. So I'm going to use sine law, but this is kind of awkward. Why? Because it doesn't work with that pair. So I need a different idea. Anybody have some idea that we could work with then? What about using that 72 for something? I'm going to go 72 and then that top angle. Okay, where can we go from the top angle? We can go angle, angle, third angle with 180, and then we got to reset the pairs. Okay, so I think I've told you this before. This is a for sure on the test. It's the one where you use sine law twice inside one question. Okay, so go ahead. So 86 sine 84, 72 sine B, times divide inverse, times divide inverse. On your test, I'm going to try to remind you, you got to check your calculator top to make sure you're in degree mode.
I don't have this.
You should have it in the package of stuff.
I don't have it.
Okay, so I'm going to go 180 minus the other angles. And what do we get here? So 180 minus I like jamming out while you're doing that. Okay, there's my top corner. Okay, so I'm going to do another pair up so I can use this pink pair. Now, technically you can use the blue pair with it or the yellow pair, but I'm going to just tell you it's always better to go to the original pair. So I'm going to stick with the yellow. Anybody matching me with the final? Okay, did you notice how I was just trying to consistently go 1 decimal with my angle stuff and I was doing 2 with my side stuff? Okay, so that's for sure on the test where you're going to have this sine law twice. So that would be the hardest sine law question you'll see. Okay, here I want to know side C there. Okay, I was given 8, 6, and I was given a 60-degree corner here. So that means I was given a side there, and I've been told an angle there. So now do we see the strategy? SAS, which is the cosine law. So C squared equals 6 squared, 8 squared, minus 2, 6, 8, cos 60. It's that formula. Again, I'm going to be giving you formula sheet, right? So you'll have the formula itself on there. But you have to know how to work it, and then don't forget to square root. I'm gonna pretend I forgot to square root, and if I did, I would have told you the answer to that side was 52. But does your brain do any of that red flag stuff where you had a 6, an 8, and then this side was 52? That seems unreasonable, right? Okay, so then that should be a hint like, oh yeah, forgot to square root. Okay, so here I've been asked to figure out Q as an angle. I already know I'm going to push inverse at the end of this question, whatever it is. And the info given was 3 of the sides. So that's a cosine, which would be cos of angle Q and a fraction. Okay, I do the important thing first, which is subtract what side at the end of the formula. That's the important part. Which are the 3 sides? 6.3 is the one that's important. 6.3 squared. Okay? So put it at the end. And then all the other sides go in. So you're done thinking about 6.3. Once you've put it there, you're done with it. So 9.6 squared, 8.1 squared, 2, 9.6, 8.1. Okay, typing wise, brackets are your friend. You can't really ever over bracket something. So you're going to be doing the top, divide by bottom, cos inverse, okay? So on your test, you might see something about, can you figure out the largest angle? That could be a question, or the smallest angle, or something like that. So do we know how to indicate which one is the biggest? Which letter would be the biggest when you look at it? The P, the Q, or the R corner? R would be the largest because it is across the largest side. Okay, so know that property. Vice versa, Q is actually the smallest angle of that triangle, right? Okay, ambiguous. So this is 3 points here. How many triangles? So I'm going to go opposite. So A is opposite of A. Okay, so opposite is shorter. The opposite was shorter. What do we have to do if the opposite side is shorter? We have to test. So 5 over sine 28, 13 over sine B, okay, I don't really care about what it is. I just want to know if it exists, right? Okay, you got to push the sine inverse, right? Sine inverse yet? An error? Okay, so boom, no triangles are going to be there. So on your test, I will say how many Y. So 0 triangles, Y, opposite shorter, test, error. There's my explanation. Okay, so here's my opposite is 12. So then it is shorter. which means there's a test. Okay, so times, divide, inverse, and then all you're trying to ask is there a number or an error? I got an angle number, so this is going to tell me that this is an ambiguous situation. And the last one, 12 is the opposite, and the opposite is longer. Guess what? Don't have to do anything. 1. Okay, so that one's the easy one. Solve for the ambiguous triangle from our question here. So there's the ground. There's the adjacent side. Okay, so I gotta go back to here. We had 12, 14, and 31 degrees. That was our two triangle. So 12, 14, and 31. Okay, I'm going to visualize this 12. Okay, so if I put kind of a ruler, I'm going to call this my ruler, this to my finger, so this point to my finger is 14. So I'm going to make 12 about from there to there. Okay, ready? If I move 12, I could cause a triangle to hit right there. That could be a 12. Or 12 could hit over here. So when I draw this, you can see my yellow triangle is called an obtuse one. And then my pink is called my acute one. Always have to draw it that's going to have an obtuse and that's going to have an acute. Okay, so the goal is here. We're going to go 14, 12, and what? 14, 12, what? And then the other triangle is going to be 14, 12, what? That's what the goal is. You're trying to get to the third side. It's 14, 12. So don't look at this, right? Because this triangle has 12, 12, what? And that's not my triangle. Mine has to have a 14 in it and a 12 in it. Okay, so step 1. 12 over sine 31 equals 14 over sine B. Angle B equals what or what? That should be your options, right? So thinking about what I just did, I figured out the angle across from 14. So in my visual, I have an angle across 14 there, or there. Okay. The further you are away, you have a smaller angle, right? The further one away is always smaller. Okay, now you go to the angles. So you go, here's a yellow corner, here's a yellow corner. What's the third yellow corner? Okay, so I get a third angle, 5.9. Do the same thing pink. Go pink corner, pink corner. What's the last pink corner? Okay, so you're ready for your final step is the side at the bottom, the side at the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna go 12 over sine 31 because I'm just gonna always stick to my original pair. I'm gonna call it C1. And then we said the top angle was 5.9. So this is my yellow. So 5.9 across. Okay, one's going to be pretty small, one's going to be big, right? So that concludes exactly what's on your test for ambiguous. You got 10 points. So you're going to have figure out the number of triangles and explain. So that's 3 points. And then do a whole shebang. And this is a 7-point question. And I'm going to award you 1 point for your drawing. Okay? So I will give a drawing deduction for this is a typical drawing deduction. What's wrong with this person's drawing? Acute, acute. That's not good, right? One's obtuse, acute. Okay, word problems. This one will be on there for sure. Height of a building. Okay, so we have some students on the ground. So somewhere on the ground. Look to the top of the building, 35. To the top of the building was 35. Then 150 feet, getting closer to the building. Now the lookup elevation is 51. Okay, you can assume 90 degrees on the building. Okay, always make sure the farther you are away, your angle is smaller. Okay, think about looking up at anything, right? When you're far away, you don't have to tilt your head, but if you get closer, you're going to crank your head higher, right? Okay, so step 1, supplementary. That's your first step. Supplementary. Step 2, 180 triangle. Step 3, make a pair. So we did 150, 16 degrees pair. And then I'm going to create a pair. I'm going to do that side in the middle there. So you see my pairs? Okay. Technically, I'm only working inside this triangle right now, right? Cover that one up. I'm only dealing with this triangle part. Okay? There's 3 triangles, so stick with one triangle when you're working. Don't crisscross triangles. So 150, sine 16. I'm going to go the letter Y here, though. I'm just going to call it something. Yay, nay if we like my numbers, or if we don't, make sure you yell at me that I did something. 312, 14. Okay, and then my last step is to get my final building height, so I'm going to call it X. So I'm going to do a partner pair and a partner pair, and at this point, working with just this triangle over here, you could also do SOHCAHTOA stuff, right? Because it is a right triangle, so you are allowed to do that. 3, 12, 14 is across that 90 degree. Okay, I'm giving this person a small deduction for their answer. Anybody know why I would deduct this person? They need to throw on, it's a word problem, they should include feet on the end of it, okay? So that would be something I will give you a little deduction for if you forget. So make sure you just kind of put down all the info you need. Two airplanes leave an airport at the same time. So they leave the airport, one goes one way, one goes another way. 1 hour later, they are 189 kilometers apart. One plane went 168, the other went 244. Figure out the angle between their flight paths. So after creating that drawing, I can see some triple S going on, right? Which is cosine law. So I'm going to do a cos theta equals fraction. And I'm going to go to the end and figure out which of these is the most important. And that is to do the 189 squared at the end. Across. Okay, 189 is now done. So the rest are going to be the 168 and the 244. Calculator wise, you're doing brackets top, divide by brackets bottom, cos inverse, right? How else could I give you questions like this? I might give you velocities or speeds, so make sure you figure out a distance if I give you a speed, right? Also on the test, I notice that sometimes it's really easy to do. Sometimes people might have accidentally pushed sine inverse instead of cos inverse or vice versa. Okay, make sure you understand, oh yeah, this is the sine, this is a cos. Make sure you're pushing the right button. Okay, last one. So you have two streets that intersect at an angle of 58 degrees. So you have streets intersecting 58 degrees. Then you have a lot, like where a house would be in their yard, and it's a triangle-shaped lot. So I'm going to do this. So this is a person's yard with their house. One street side is 32, and the other side of the street is 40 along the lot. How long is the back side of this lot? Okay, so I'm developing some kind of strategy using SAS. That's what I see. So that's cosine. So I'm going to go x squared, 32 squared, 40 squared, minus 2, 32, 40, cos 58. Okay, so this is the one where you type, square root.